Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Introduce myself. My name is Renita Dwi Cindy. I'm a student at the State University of Gorontalo from the Department of Chemistry Education Study Program Class A. This time we'll explain the result of the practicum we did. Title: Modification of sulfur. Objective: to study several modifications of sulfur, to study characteristics of hydrogen sulfate and sulfuric acid. Next, go to experimental work segment. The first, modification of sulfur. Blended 0.5 grams of sulfur in evaporation cup by heating the sulfur until it melts and freezes, and then observed crystal crystals. The result is yellow crystal. And then hidden 0.5 grams of sulfur powder in the test tube while shaking the tube, and then observed the sulfur color change. The result is bronze yellow. Next, characteristic of sulfur acid. The heat a piece of copper in the test tube containing 1 milliliter sulfuric acid, not boiling. Observed the activity in the test tube, and then write the reaction equation. The result is bubbles appear in the tube, and then place the filter paper moistened with potassium chromate solution in the mouth of the test tube in step 1, and then observed the color change in the filter paper. And then with the reaction equation, the result is filter paper that was originally yellow turned with brown. Next, patted sucrose into the test tube containing 1 milliliter sulfuric acid, not boiling. Observed and take a note the activity in the test tube. The result is when hidden it turns into a black solid. Next, patted 2 milliliter of acetic acid into the test tube, added 2 milliliter of ethanol and 2 milliliter of concentrated sulfuric acid, and then hidden the test tube using a Bunsen burner, and then observed the take and note the activity in the test tube. The result is the hidden solution coalesces, bubbles to form and melt like a inflated balloon. Next, observation result. Treatment. The first, modification of sulfur. Blended 0.5 grams of sulfur, evaporation cup by heating the sulfur until the melt and let it freeze. The result is when the sulfur melts, the sulfur is red, and after freezing, sulfur from crystal. And then hidden 0.5 grams of sulfur powder in the tube. The result is change color from yellow to brown. Next, characteristic of sulfur acid. Hidden a piece of copper in a test tube containing 1 milliliter sulfuric acid, not boiling. The result is bubble appear in the tube. Place the filter paper moistened with potassium chromate Solution in the mode of test tube in step 1. The result is filter paper that was originally yellow turned white. Patted sucrose in the test tube and a few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid. The result is when hidden it turned into a black solid. And then patted 2 ml of acetic acid into the test tube, 2 ml of ethanol and 2 ml of concentrated sulfuric acid. Heat the test tube using a Bunsen burner. The result is the hidden solution causes bubble to form and smelt like a inflammable balloon. Discussion modification of sulfur. In the sulfur modification experiment, there were two different treatments, namely heating the sulfur in an evaporation dish and in a test tube. When sulfur is heated in evaporation dish using a hot plate, the color changes from yellow to red and the sulfur melts. After being allowed to stand for a few minutes, the sulfur solidifies and crystalline form. The reactions that occur are the heat the sulfur in a test tube. When sulfur is heated in a test tube using a hot plate, after 5 minutes, the sulfur melts and the color changes from yellow to deep red. This is because there is an effect of heating speed. Whereas the temperature is increased, the color of the sulfur will be darker. Sulfuric acid characteristic. In the sulfuric acid characteristic experiment, the first thing to do is heat a piece of copper in the test tube containing 1 ml sulfuric acid. When heating, the make-glass bubbles are formed. After the heating process is stopped, the color change from clear to brownish yellow. The reaction that occurred in the experiment is as follows. Next is to pat filter paper moistened with potassium chromate solution at the mouth of the test tube. In the first experiment, the heat it. When heated, slowly the yellow color on the filter paper disappears or turns white. The reaction that occurred in this experiment is as follows. The next step is to pat sucrose into a test tube and 10 drops of concentrated sulfuric acid, then heated using Bunsen heating. The heated, this color changes to black. And the last step is to pat 2 ml of acetic acid into the tube. Add 2 ml of ethanol and 2 ml of concentrated sulfuric acid. Heat the test tube using a Bunsen burner. During the heating process, the heated solution causes bubbles to form the melts like inflammable balloons. The reaction that occurred this experiment is as follows. Conclusion. Based on the experiment that have been carried out, it can be concluded that the modification of sulfur can be seen from change in the structure of the sulfur itself, which is marked by a change in color and formation of crystallines. As from experiment characteristic of sulfur acid, it can be concluded the sulfuric acid has the property of being an oxidizing agent, which is challenge an oxidation agent. That's my presentation. Thank you for attention. Hope it is useful. See you at the next. That's my presentation. That's my presentation. Thank you for That's my presentation. Thank you for attention. I hope it is useful. See you the next time.